evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Mitchell Ringos. With the possibility of rain and snow this weekend, the Lakehead Region Conservation Authority has issued a flood watch for the city of Thunder Bay and the surrounding area. The release states that there's still more snow on the ground than usual and it's melting quickly. Some localized flooding has already been reported and residents are advised to use caution around waterways, especially with children and pets. The city is also advising those visiting Loch Lomond over the weekend to use caution as localized flooding is causing poor conditions on sections of the roadway. The road will remain open with city crews working to pump excess water away from the area. 52-year-old man from Northern Ontario is facing charges of impaired driving while in a heavy equipment machine after being pulled over by the Ontario Provincial Police. Just after 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday, members of the Kenora OPP detachment responded to a traffic complaint of some heavy machinery driving erratically within the city of Kenora. Once on scene, investigation officers determined that the driver of the heavy equipment was impaired by alcohol with cans still sitting in the scoop loader. The driver was then placed under arrest and transported to the Kenora OPP detachment for further testing. The accused was charged with 2 impaired driving offenses and released from custody. He is scheduled to appear in court on June 8th to answer to the charges. Medical Officer of Health Dr. Janet DeMille is getting high praise from city officials for her efforts during the COVID-19 pandemic over the past 3 years. City Manager Norm Gale and Mayor Ken Boshkoff made the comments following the decision this past week to declare the pandemic emergency to be officially terminated. The move was made in consultation with DeMille, who was front and center in the fight against COVID since the local state of emergency was first declared in April of 2020. Many of the district health units' COVID measures were dictated by higher levels of government, but DeMille did have the power to make certain decisions at the local level. And both Boshkoff and Gale give her a lot of credit for helping get Thunder Bay through it all.
Boy, Dr. DeMille did some fantastic work under incredible duress and incredible pressure. I, as the city manager, relied on her greatly, especially early in the pandemic. And we had many discussions and many chats about some of the serious decisions we were making. She was a great benefit to me personally as a city manager and also to the community as a medical officer of health, making some really difficult decisions. I appreciate her and what she did.
I believe that they appreciate the leadership that Dr. DeMille had to take in making these orders and the people that had to execute them to make sure that we got through it safely and that no more lives were lost. And so that's a pretty hardcore mandate to succeed in.
The Northwestern Health Unit has publicly released an assessment report outlining the need for safe consumption sites in 4 Northwestern communities. Carl Langdon reports.
Today, Northwestern Health Unit has released a report that examines the need for supervised consumption services in 4 local communities: Kenora, Dryden, Sioux Lookout, and Fort Frances. Each of the 4 communities' rates of substance use harms are significant, and supervised consumption services are recommended to reduce the risk of overdose and overdose deaths to people who use drugs.
Safe consumption sites already exist in Thunder Bay and other parts of the country such as BC. Dr. Kit Young-Hoon notes some of the major benefits associated with providing these services, benefits that not only extend to individuals who use drugs, but also to the wider community.
Research has shown that the sites can have benefits, including reducing overdose deaths, decreasing the spread of infectious diseases, reducing discarded drug equipment near the site, and increasing the use of healthcare services, including treatment services.
The assessment offers recommendations to stakeholders, but while the report outlines needs, there's no clear path on who will address them and how. This lack of clarity and the stark differences between the communities named leaves those who are already supportive of the inclusion of safe injection sites seeking practical ways forward. Mayor of Sioux Lookout, Doug Lawrence, noted his appreciation for the services recommended and for what he calls a progressive report on something that needs to be addressed. But he says his community faces unique issues with alcohol and with finding service providers to commit to delivering services locally.
It's really a little bit of an uncertain path. It's the healthcare system or the social service. Where does the line of responsibility lie? we absolutely, I think a safe consumption service would be excellent for Silicode. But what is it more dire need is a managed alcohol program.
Sioux Lookout's response was to open a safe sobering center in the next coming weeks. The push to deliver the service met many of the same challenges that municipalities named in the report are expected to face. With a limited number of service organizations in the region with the expertise required to take on the task, and a lack of physical space, Lawrence's reservations on where the burden of responsibility lies are bound to be repeated in discussions held across the other three communities. Carl Langdon, TBT News.
Thunder Bay Superior North MPP Lise Vaugeois is calling on the Transportation Minister to meet with her and work across party lines on the issue of trucking safety in northwestern Ontario.
We can't let this be a partisan issue. It needs to be something that where we all come together and figure out, okay, how can we actually solve this problem?
Vaugeois says she is yet to receive a reply to an April 4th letter requesting a meeting with Minister Caroline Mulroney. She acknowledges that many issues with trucking across Canada will need to be addressed at a national level, but says there are a number of things the province can and should do to address the issue here.
This is the Trans-Canada Highway, but it's also how people get to work. Once you're in the smaller communities, you have no choice but to be on those highways to go get your groceries or to come into Thunder Bay to get a medical appointment. So in my mind, this is absolutely urgent and desperate that we address it. We can't afford to let it keep going on.
Vaugeois wants inspection stations staffed 24/7 and an increase in the number of rest stops on Ontario highways. She wants OPP officers trained to read and understand the electronic lodging devices that track truckers' driving time. And she's asking for an 8-hour snow clearing standard on Highway 1117. She's also offering to help pressure the federal government into cracking down on training and drive test fraud in every province. Millions of dollars in funding was announced this week by Kenora Rainy River MPP Greg Rickford. Nearly $5 million will be going towards two projects: highway reconstruction in Dryden and an Indigenous training program in Kenora. Dryden is receiving just shy of $3 million from the province's Connecting Links Fund to rebuild a 1.2-kilometer stretch of Highway 17 called Grand Trunk Avenue, where it cuts through the city. Dryden Mayor Jack Harrison expects the work to be completed in 2024. He says the roadway had been deteriorating and is ready for a complete redo.
To improve the safety of folks coming through our town, our own residents ourselves, because the highway splits our city in half. On the urban side, we use a lot as well. It's not, when you come through Dryden, it's nice to see a nice brand new surface. It speaks well for who we are as a community, that we take care of our city. First impressions are important.
Niwin Wendenamuk is getting almost $2 million for their construction capacity project. It will provide skilled trade apprenticeships for Indigenous workers and at-risk youth, as well as establishing a high skills major program in construction at a nearby First Nations high school. Third-year aerospace manufacturing technology students from Confederation College presented their final projects today. From carbon fiber bikes to model rockets, there were a lot of impressive projects presented. Jess Clement reports.
The project, which they started back in September, required students to use everything they've learned over the past 3 years to design and create a device of their choice, then present the whole process to their peers and professors. In total, 6 students presented their projects on Friday, which ranged from a watch body and strap to a model rocket. Jaspreet Singh ended up creating a carbon fiber bike frame for his final, which was so light you could lift it with 2 fingers.
If you compare it with any stainless or other material like the aluminum ones, like those ones are heavy, but they are durable, I know, but they are heavy as well. So light, if you want to have a look at it, it's fine, but it's really light and strong as well. Like I would compare it with the aluminum as well, because if the aluminum gets dented, they get damaged a lot, but this one won't.
Over their time in the program, students were able to work in all manners of advanced manufacturing positions in the aerospace, transit, automotive, and other manufacturing sectors. Vidangvai Patel also made his final project out of carbon fiber, but instead of a bike frame, he made a car spoiler. He says it's something he's always wanted to make since he started the program.
So this spoiler is basically created with carbon fiber. It has 3 layers on the top, 3 layers on the bottom, and I've combined those carbon fibers with 3D printing. That is a new technology that's coming up right now, and it's an infusion of all the advanced manufacturing processes you guys have here in the college. So I've just combined all together in one to get a desired outcome, what I always wanted to have.
Patel says he was really passionate about being in the program and is excited for what's coming next.
I'm good at like all the stuff like designing, drafting, machinings, and even assembly stuff, so more of mechanical type. I'm open to all the jobs offered over, and wherever I go, I put my best foot forward with all the experiences that I've learned, and college has taught me everything that I can scatter into different streams. That's what I'm looking forward to right now.
Jessica Clement, TBT News.
We're now joined by sports anchor Mike Lang. There's been plenty going on in the city for local sports, specifically for the Thunder Bay Kings, as they had a pretty important game this morning.
That's right, Mitch. The Kings, they had a bit of an up and down tournament up to this point, but they had a big win this morning. We'll have that story and more coming right up.